So welcome to Queens Public Library. We're celebrating Black History Month. This year's theme is African Americans in the Arts, and it celebrates excellence in Black culture, in the performing, visual arts, the cooking, art, architecture, so many areas that many of the people who are in those sessions are unsung, unknown. So we're shedding a light. And part of this year's one of the goals was to make connections between Africans in the diaspora and how we continue traditions in the Americas. And one of the ways we're able to do that is through the celebration of Carnival. Now, Carnival season may have just ended, but we can continue to explore a little bit more. And with this panel that we have here with their expertise, they can shed some light on what Carnival is and the spiritual connection, the artistic and creative expression of Carnival. So let me let you meet the panelists, and I will start off with our moderator, Dr. Charles Daniel Dawson. We are just fortunate to have this multi-talented artist here to moderate the panel. He has taught internationally. I mean, he's a walking font of history and information of just what it means to be an African, whether you're from Africa or the diaspora. So let me tell you a little bit more about him. He's a multi-talented artist that has worked as a photographer, filmmaker, curator, arts administrator, and a scholar. Dr. Dawson has served as curator of photography, film, and video at the Studio Museum. He was program director and program manager at the American Museum of Natural History and worked as a consultant to museums both nationally and internationally. He has shown in over 35 photography exhibitions, curated more than 50, and is associated with many prize-winning films. Dr. Dawson has lectured and taught seminars nationally and internationally, including at Columbia University, New York, and Yale Universities, the Federal University in Bahia, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I also, before I have Dr. Dawson lead the panel, I also want to acknowledge the person who helped to put this panel together. She is a member of the Juve Fest Collective and Journey Agents Group. Sandra Bell is the founder of the Juve Fest Collective. It's comprised of professional musicians, carnivalists, designers, and artists. Its mission is to preserve and present Trinidad and Tobago's culture and original style of Juve. This includes traditional characters, styles of rhythms, acoustic instrumentation, street procession, theatrical presentations, telling the story of Juve, workshops and collaborations with like-minded groups. And without further ado, you're tired of hearing my voice. I'm turning it over to Dr. Dawson. Thank you.
Thank you, Roz. Roz, it's not Dr. Dawson. It's Professor Dawson, if you want to do that. But in fact,
Professor
one of my
Dawson.
colleagues told me I worked harder at not getting a doctorate than he did to get his. So, and he was absolutely right too. So, but also I'm honored that you and Sandra decided to ask me to work on this, to participate with this, because this is one of the things I love. But I love it in particular because our participants are all in the tradition. You know, they all come out of the tradition that they're going to represent to. You know, in fact, I'm going to do a kind of brief background for them when I introduce them. But we're going to start with Gail Yvette Davis. We're going to have Savannah Magda second, and then third will be Donald Harrison, Big Chief Donald Harrison. So, but again, this is what's so interesting to me is that this is the process of people who live the tradition talking about the tradition, the only ones who should talk about it too. We're going to start with Gail Yvette Davis. And Gail is going to join us from the great Caribbean country of Brooklyn. And she's going to talk about the traditions that she's lived in Trinidad and Tobago. She was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, but she also worked as she's a retired economist who worked as an economist. And that's one of the things I want to get to about these traditions. Though we look at them as something we live and we love, they're also important for the economy. Now, whether we benefit from the economy or not is a big question, but they're important to the economy of those locales too. So she's a self-described carnival enthusiast, and she's studied the traditions of masking in the Caribbean. in New Orleans, in Brooklyn, in Brazil, and in Africa. And she actually went on a tour with me to Brazil, where we saw another kind of rarefied carnival event in Brazil called Bumba Meu Boi, which is a thing in Maranhão in northern Brazil too. She's collaborated with Michael Manswell and the Something Positive Performing Arts Ensemble, supporting Carnival's Labor Day Parade and Brooklyn Juve. Again, in the great Caribbean country of Brooklyn, where she has been a resident for the last, what, 20 years, Gail? Yeah, Gail, could you start with telling us a little bit about your background in Trinidad?
Well, actually, I've lived, I think, longer in Brooklyn than Good afternoon, everybody. I am, first of all, let's do the format, delighted to be here and in such, we would say, august company. Because when I see that New Orleans depth and I see the Brazilian depth, I say, yeah, I'm going to learn a lot today. So I grew up in Trinidad, and Carnival, we would say, is in our blood. And it's something that was there. You would, as a child, I'd go out, I'd be a spectator. Next to me lived a woman who was a queen of the band. And on Carnival Day, they come out as masquerade bands. And she was queen. Her name was Mavis, Miss Mavis to me, of a band. And the costume would be made in her house right next door. And as a child, I would go over and I would, the sequins would come in long threads. And my job was to help pull the sequins off of the threads that she would then be, they'd be sticking on the costumes and the like. And that really sealed it for me with Carnival. I play mass. I'm what I would call a floor masquerader. I would go back to Trinidad, and since I've been living here in the US practically every year for the last, like 25, 30 years, and play mass, attend the music performances that are there, the children's carnival. And here in Brooklyn, I've been part of a variety of masquerade groups, especially which parade in the Brooklyn Juve celebrations that Juve City International sponsors here.
Gail, what is Juve?
Juve, a combination of two French words, jour and ouvert, day and open. So it talks to the beginning of the day. And what it is really a festival which ushers in the Lundi Gras and the Mardi Gras. And so it happens before the break of dawn, just till after the break of dawn. And people come out in costumes that they wore last year. But I think what I should say is that the real importance of Juve is that in a country such as Trinidad and Tobago, which I am from, which was a slave colony at the time, emancipation took place August 1st, 1838. And there were celebrations at that time as former slaves celebrated their freedom. And at that time, there'd be the music, the drumming, there would be the dancing. They would be able now to get together with friends and family. And those traditions that they brought from Africa, they would, let's call it, indulge in. This didn't please the authorities. And so after a while, they kind of pushed it from August to the European Mardi Gras, Lundi Gras, Carnival time, which was a pre-Lenten celebration that the Europeans celebrated. And often enough, what we did happen, let's call it under the cover or in the dark of night. And so Juve really, for me, represents the essence of masquerade and music in the Americas, in the way in which it was brought over from especially West Africa and Central Africa, the Congo, Angola region. Yeah.
You said there's kind of commonalities between Carnival in New Orleans and Trinidad. Could you speak about some of those?
What's that? Say that
Could you
again.
speak about the commonalities in terms of Carnival tradition in Trinidad and New Orleans?
Well, I first of all, it's the energy. I was in New Orleans pre-Katrina, so some time ago, and it's like, oh, this feels like Trinidad, but it is in the music bands that in Trinidad, drums were banned at a certain time, and out of that evolved the steel band as a musical instrument, which we know today. But those, I call them marching bands that I see in New Orleans, make me think of the music bands that are in Trinidad. I look at the masquerade, two areas. We have a big chief here, and there was a masquerade, there continues to be a masquerade in Trinidad that's called Wild Indian Masquerade. And what it is really is a masking that involves using then the headdress and the wear of indigenous peoples. And I see some commonality when I see that type of masquerade in New Orleans. There is a commonalities. There is another masquerade that's called Baby Doll. And I was kind of surprised when I saw it in the New Orleans masquerade. And generally, these are adult women who dress as young girls, and they have a baby. And it shows us how the carnival is not just fun and games and feathers and beads and bikinis and the like, but there are serious topics that are covered. And this talks to the topic of the abuse of women in general, and more particularly in a society where you had masters and slaves of women who were enslaved and who find themselves, you have a child and it's like, I'm looking for the father. This is what the masquerade portrays in Trinidad. But there's something similar that I see in that New Orleans context.
Could you also talk a little bit about Moko Jambi?
Moko Jambi. You know, I have a couple photos. Can I show you a couple of those photos that I have?
Please, yeah, okay.
Yeah, which I'm not the most skilled, but let me see. Let me share my screen. Let me go to, where would I have that? My iPad.
Just past it, yeah.
Yes, okay.
There you go.
There we go. You seeing this, Danny?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, so this is actually the cover of a book, and what it is the Moko Jambi, and that's that thin figure that you see at the center there, where you have someone who's up on stilts, and the masquerader then moves around on those stilts. And this was taken actually in 1919 in Trinidad. The name of the book is Trinidad Carnival. And the stilt walker, or the Moko Jambi, would be part of the masquerade. And that bag that you see the Moko Jambi has, then they would be collecting money or goodies from the masqueraders. And what was interesting is that homes in those days, often 2 stories, they'd be leaning over, collecting money and whatever else from people who may be up on their balconies. Now, this masquerade has deep roots actually in West Africa. The Dan people, for example, in Nigeria, they have a masquerade such as this, but it is not really historically something that is secular. The term Mokojambi actually is a combination of two words with origins in Africa. Moko meaning God or spirit, and Jambi, which often is looked at negatively here in the Western world. But I've been told that the origin of the word may be in a word Zambi, or Nzambi, which talks to the all-knowing, all-seeing, as they call it, self-generating God. So it talks really to the existence of a benevolent spirit who oversees and who cares for. And so that has, in masquerade then, has been made more secular and is a part of the carnival, I must say, not only in Trinidad, but you find it in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, for example, and in other Caribbean countries.
Yeah, the time is a little tight, so could you go through some images for us, please? Because I'd like to see that clip you also have, the video clip also. But let's see some more images of Carnival.
Okay, look at this. When I first saw this, I say, I wonder where in Trinidad they're from, but they're not. They're from Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of the masquerade you call the Black Devils, or they call them Jab Jab. Grenada has a huge tradition with this as well. And I talked about the baby doll a little earlier. So it's this guy, as I say, an adult woman, baby, bottle, and that's what the costuming looks like. That's New York you're hearing in the background. You can't not have a siren. This is in Brooklyn a few years ago. A designer, a local designer here, very prolific, Cynthia Salandi, a Mokojambi, and you can see it combines with another traditional masquerade, which is a bat, and those are the wings that you see, and of course the ubiquitous horns that are there. Let me show you one more. Hakeem Mutlak, who is a very skilled photographer here in New York, took this photo, and I just love it. A few years ago, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter challenges, I'll use that as a kind of a word, and at the carnival, which talks about current events, about challenges that we have, about subjects of interest, and they spare nothing. This figure is called a Dame Lorraine, and generally it is often in the beginning men would play this, and those are the exaggerated buttocks. We're seeing it from behind, as well as exaggerated breasts. And so what he was able to capture here is a masquerader, and he then sees the New York Police Department van, and many of they're omnipresent in the parades these days, but that is for a discussion at another time. But this is also another one of the traditional masquerades that we have. We have this, so that
I think we ought to go through the images a little quicker so we can get through them.
Yes. And so I think that's what it is I would show you right now out of what it is I have here, because I know. But
you have a video clip also?
Let me see, a video clip.
Because I think one of the most essential things in Carnival is also the music, and you get a chance to hear
the music. And we talked about that. I'm just going to put a little two things I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Ladies
a couple of minutes.
We go now to 138 Renegades.
Let me see what. Okay, so that was actually the steel band that placed first in the most recent. There's a competition among the steel band orchestras. I guess they kind of correspond to like the baterias and the like that you may find in Brazil. And that was the band play a little clip of it playing their tune. And this is one of the very prolific young soca or calypso singers. His name is Bunji Garlin. And
yeah, bunks and ranks.
Hey, hey, hey. Viking. Hey, hey, hey. Yo. Hey, hey, hey. Me and Carnival of a contract. Every year we go hard like nail, lie on the road with truck bigger than humpback whales. So take a thumbtack with calendar and just mark that date. Cause when you see them through this come around, this time is my time to jump out. My time to run bout. My time to get something and get on bound on this long road. Moving with my soldiers, we don't move in our cops down. Whining on all them girls from east, west, north and south. Yes we do, yes we do, yes we do. Hey, 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 yes we do, yes we do, yes we do. Yo, yo, jump when the day comes, jump on the day, jump when the day comes, jump on the day, jump when the day comes, jump on the day, jump when the day comes, jump on the day. I tell my wife I love your vibe, but you should come along. Yeah. She sending vibes to all we like, now we but 40 strong. Yeah. Who on the left, who on the right, we going out to town. My relatives they want the line, but I tell them, see you when I come back. This time I will come back late, going from morning till last lap away from that street. Hold your mic, work hard, you don't know how long I wait. So when you see them do this come around, this time is my time to jump out. My time to run, boat. My time to get something and get on board on this long road.
good.
You know, it's funny, what you made me think of is that one of the most important places for Caribbean Carnival is Haiti. You know, that so much of
Yes.
Haitian influence is everywhere in the Caribbean, you know, including Cuba, including New Orleans, you know, so. But thank you for that.
Yes.
Again,
And a lot of similarities again with Trinidad, as I said, Grenada,
mhm,
St. Vincent, and elsewhere. A lot of yeah, in terms of
Beautiful.
the masquerade and the
Okay.
musics, the sound of the music as well. I some years ago, I think it was with you, Danny. I think we were in Rio and we saw the Manguera, it's called.
Manguera, yeah,
Manguera.
right.
Yes, yes, and we went to
That's all
their
gives us-
location, yes, and they were
But also
practicing.
Manguera is
And
like a community group, but it's huge, you know, they
Yeah.
have their own school, their
yes,
own
it's
park,
huge,
their own,
yes.
yeah.
And that's one of the things that I admired there, because in Trinidad, the mass bands, like outside of the carnival season, you hardly hear anything from them
Mhm.
until it's time for the next carnival. But I liked the institutionalization, let's call it that,
Right.
of a band such as Manguera in Brazil, where they had school and you know, a lot of facilities, and
Mhm.
really were working outside of the carnival
But
season.
they're also a
in their
vehicle for
community.
community voice. They also help the
Yes.
community say something to the bigger population
Yeah, and
too.
that's what I like. And you know, because as an economist, I look at how Carnival is an economic powerhouse in all these communities.
Right.
Not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but I know in Brazil for sure, in New Orleans,
Mhm.
Mobile, Alabama, and definitely here in Brooklyn with
Right.
the West Indian American Day Carnival Association, Labor Day Parade, and the
Beautiful.
Juve here, in terms of the materials they use, the instruments that are purchased, people coming in using the airlines, the hotels, the
Everything.
food, the restaurant. I mean, we can go on and on, that they're generators, part of the economic engine, and should be recognized as such.
I agree. That's perfect way to close that too. But again, Gail Yvette Davis, we'd like to thank you for that contribution. We'd like to move on, but we'd also like you to stay with us and contribute for the
Yeah,
rest of the
sure.
evening too. Our next discussant will be Silvana Magna. She again was born and raised in one of the great African countries of the world, Brazil. and she was born in Salvador Bahia, Brazil. But she's also a student of Salvador's famous threes, that is Carnival, Capoeira, and Candomblé. So she grew up in those traditions. She's a professional singer, dancer, and choreographer. She trained at Teatro Castro Alves School and at Cantor Candomblé Terreiro. She's the founder director of Catende, a 9-piece band, and the Viva Brazil dancers who performed at Lincoln Center, at the Palace of the Prince of Morocco, and at Brooklyn Barclay Center with the Rolling Stones. She's also director of the carnival group Filas de Ganji. So again, Silvana, thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. It is such an honor to participate in a panel with so many very important people and knowledgeable, which the different carnival around the world. I feel very honored to be a part of this.
Tell me, how does Salvador Carnival differ from Rio? Everybody knows about Rio. What happens? What's the difference between the two?
Well, the thing is, samba was in Bahia. Then when the African woman, Tia Ciata, went to Rio, this back in the 18th century, when they went to Rio, they carried with them the tradition of samba de roda, and that was transformed in the favelas in Rio for the samba of what's carnival today. But the other tradition, the African roots of Brazil, is in Salvador, Bahia. We the ones who hold the base, and we put it out to the entire country, the roots of Brazilian culture in terms of the African connection here.
Exactly.
And then the carnival in Bahia is very intriguing because we have different groups. We have the Afro groups, which is most like in the more advanced pace. Most of you know about is like Olodum, Ileaê, groups who have more very, very speed tempo. They all connect to the religion, but they have different speed of tempo and the crowds. The other group called the Afoxé. Afoxé is a tradition back in 1885, which was a movement in the Candomblé house who went to the street to show, in performing, and they be able to entertain themselves. And they cannot do the Candomblé in the streets, like how they do after the ceremony. They took that tradition after the ceremony to the streets, and then labeled Afoxé. The name Afoxé, they have different significance. It's like you have Afoxé as an instrument, which is like a calabash, and also you have the Afoxé, people mean like the word who made it, in terms like who is speaking, who have they speak, they be able to make it. And then the Afoxé, the little parade, which the organs and the Equedes and Mãe de Santos, the Ialorixás, like the mothers of the African traditions, get together as a gathering to celebrate in the streets the tradition, but in a profound way. Like they mix with the samba de roda, and they use the rhythm of Ijexá, but in a festa tempo to celebrate in the streets of Salvador.
Could you tell us about the group you're in, Filas de Ganji?
Okay, Filas de Ganji. I'm going to give a brief why the name came before. 75 years ago, a group of men who work in the docks in Salvador, where the big boats came with the goods from Brazil. They work in the docks, and then they decided to get together and create a group of men to celebrate the peace in the world. At that time, Gandhi was very popular because as a peacemaker, and then the group of men, the African men, like Afro-Brazilians, they decided to make a tribute with Gandhi peacemaking around the world. Everybody talk about the things Gandhi was doing. They decided to create a group called the Filhos of Gandhi, the Sons of Gandhi. This group is 75 years old. 35 years after, Negão de Doni, which is like one of the members of Filhos de Gandhi, he was like the lead singer for Filhos de Gandhi, and also a music director He was the one take care of the percussion and the singing for Filhos de Gandhi. He also worked in a dance company called Viva Bahia, which was the first dance company in Brazil, was created in 1962 by Emilia Biancardi. He worked in that dance company along with me and other girls. He said to us, I want you guys come, let's do a group called Filhas de Gandhi. But why he make the invitation? The group of Emilia, which is Viva Brazil, the Viva Bahia, she have dancers and musicians who is doing music, they play, they sing, they do art and craft. Then they go and say, I want to bring that magic to the streets because they only have the Filhos de Gandhi. Let's do Filhas de Gandhi. Then like me, Adriana, Jacira Valois, and Marta, and Rita, which you know too, as today she's a Yalorixá, we decided, okay, let's go with Negão for this adventure. Then we went to Pelourinho, and at that time, I was a little underage. My mother came along, and we all get together in Pelourinho. We have like a space that we rehearsal. They said, let's do this together. Then there was Filhas de Gandhi was born right in Pelourinho with a group of dancers, and Hans said, okay, I'm gonna help you guys to direct this. Then we put together the group in 1979. And then 84, I left to the US. My mother continues with the group. Around 2000, Negão passed, and then my mother assumed the presidency of Filhas de Gandhi. Last year, when I came for vacation, my mom is like, have a few problems with her health, and then she asked me if I come back and then continue with the, be with the group. I told her yes, when a mother's ask, a good kid obey. Then I say, I take that challenge. And then this year, I assumed for the first time, the whole production of Filhas de Gandhi was 45 years. Is a very hard because there's a group of women who doing culture in a crazy carnival with one side is very electric music with a heavy guitar, pop singers. The other side is a heavy drumming of Olodum, Ileaê, and then in the middle is Filhas de Gandhi, which is the rhythm is in Ijexá, and this year I have to do some creativity for we be competitive in the marketing, get into it. I was able to sample with a very good DJ, able to sample the rhythm of Ijexá for can help our drummers because all female group is not male in that, it's all female. All the group is mixed, but our group is all female. And then we're able to do amazing carnival. It was very spiritual, very beautiful. And then we bring the team this year was the woman of Terreiros, the woman of Axé, the tente, all the traditions, and they bring it to the
Giovanna,
street.
could you explain what a terreiro is?
Okay, the terreiro is the candomblé house, the religion home of a sacred temple. They call it candomblé. It's like a temple, is a house which the religion, most of the African religions is connect. They have like the house, candomblé house. The candomblé house is like terreiros, which is like a community, which normally a terreiro is like a big house, and then you have little houses around who belong to the daughters, the guests, they surround. It's like a community, like a tribal. Literally, it's like a tribal. If you look like, even like to the Indians, like in the Amazon, you have the main house, the big house, then you have a little house around, which the reason we call it terreiro, because you have the big house, we do all the religion evolutions, the religion gathering, all the celebration for the orishas, all of that is done in the big house called the terreiro.
Beautiful. So tell
It's
me,
clear,
when you
it's with mixing the religions with the candomblé because they're very connected. The afoxé is very, is a link, they're very tied together. Most of the members are into the religion.
Yeah, in Yoruba, the word afoṣe means the power to make things happen. You know, so-
Yes,
But I mean,
Yes.
it's really funny though, because Carnival in Brazil, in Bahia, is so different from Carnival in Rio because of that heavy African input, that heavy, in fact, that heavy celebration of African culture. You know, so you said the theme this year were the women of Candomblé.
yeah, we make a tribute for the Ialorixás, the mulheres de terreiro, detentora do sagrado, the women of a Candomblé houses. They are the ones who holding the power of the sacred. And that was, then we distributed that in terms of visuality. For me, the ancestrality of these women and their antepassados, like the people,
Ancestors to
the ancestors, is like the really ones can hold all the magic and the answers for everything. They have the power of the fire. They know what to do with the fire. They have the power what to do with the water. They have the power what to claim into the air, and they have the power what to collect from the earth. Because from the earth, they know all the secret of the leaves, what's the secret was on the roots. And this is the most powerful people which never be acknowledged, because we have two situations. We have in the world now, they're being discriminated what they believes. Any religion from belong to the African traditions has been suppressed. In Brazil, it's not different. It's a fight for we can stand our beliefs and maintain our traditional. And then what we're doing now is try to reach out for youths so they can come back to the roots. It's a difficult challenge, but I think try to use the technology in our favor for they can try to brighten the minds how important it is to be connected of your ancestors.
Tell me, in terms of the music of carnival is so important in Brazil with so many different types of carnival music. But you mentioned Ijexá music. Could you show that? Do you have examples of that also we could see?
Yes, I have a video, and I think they can play. I already send to
Okay.
the selection, which is like Ijexá came for the Yoruba tradition. You know, it's a rhythm of some of the orishas, and that rhythm is so rich. And the main thing about their rhythm is the agogo, which is the cowbell, which they call, and the drum, which is the atabaque, which is our drum is a little different from the other countries. Our drum is wood and animal skin, which is like the sound is very precise, and also have to be tuned, because as the weather change, the sound change, because it's live animal, like it was taken from a real skin animal. And then you have the xequerê, which also is called the afoxé. Some places call it the afoxé, which is the instrument, the calabash with the beats. And then it's sort of amazing. It's amazing song. And
So,
then
Mama,
we back to
could you do me a
Okay.
favor? Is it possible
Yes.
for you to sing like a rhythm so we can understand the rhythm, the Ijexá rhythm,
to sing.
or hum it? I don't know.
Oh, okay. I can. Let me see. Okay. You catch me now, Danny.
I'm
That's
sorry
a
about that.
very challenge, because I mean, without the rhythm, like
Mhm.
nessa cidade todo mundo é do Oxum. Homem, menino, menina, mulher. Toda essa gente irradia magia. A força que mora na água não faz distinção de cor, e toda a cidade é do Oxum.
Ooh, thank you.
É
Okay.
do Oxum. Eu vou navegar nas ondas do mar, eu vou navegar. É do Oxum. Then they can play now. I think we select
Okay,
it,
beautiful.
okay?
So the Rosia, shall I play the one right here that's highlighted, Silvana?
Yes, the one with the paint, yes. But this also they have a rhythm. The one with the girl in the painting show more the music. This is like our preparation. It's like we have like our house, our foundation. This one here, yes, this one here is the best one. They can hear the rhythm. Just normally they now remember I'm in Brazil, the tech situation, we have to like synchronize. Yeah, this is the agogo, is one of the girls playing there.
How many members are in Filas de Gandhi?
Oh, our group today is like 500 women.
Good God.
Yeah, and then like we all coming together. Let me see if I can play here. Then
Okay.
E
Ok.
com séculos de história de mulheres que resistem e se empoderam. Somos as filhas de Gandhi, grito de liberdade no compasso de Ijexá. Cada movimento, cada duplo, cada passo é uma homenagem às nossas ancestrais. São mães, filhas guerreiras, mantendo vivas as chamas sagradas da fé e da cultura negra. Nesse carnaval, desfilamos sob o tema Mulheres de Terreiro, detentoras do sagrado, uma celebração de resistência da herança que nos une como um povo. Então feche os olhos, deixe-se levar pelo som dos atabaques e pela energia de mulheres que são ao mesmo tempo guardiãs e mensageiras de um legado sagrado. Nas ruas de Salvador, entre risos e cantos, dançamos não apenas para celebrar, mas para lembrar quem somos, de onde viemos e para onde vamos. Junte-se a nós, junte-se às filhas de Gandhi.
this is the Ijexá rhythm. Yeah, this is the Ijexá rhythm.
Could you hold it closer to the computer so we can hear it?
Okay.
No pulsar do agogô, ecoam séculos de história de mulheres que resistem e se empoderam. Somos as filhas de Gandhi, grito de liberdade no compasso de Ijexá. Cada movimento, cada duplo, cada passo é uma homenagem às nossas ancestrais. São mães, filhas guerreiras, mantendo vivas as chamas sagradas da fé e da cultura negra.
Tell me, as they do that, Silvana, is there state support for the group?
Well, we receiving it's 45 years very hard in terms like try to get support. This year we are granted with the Ouro Negro, which is like a government grant from the state of Bahia to support all the Blacks groups. And then all the organizations like Bloco Afros, Afoxés, be beneficiary with that grant,
Okay.
which they're really helping us to come
Well-
out this year. Yeah, the thing is, Danny, it was like in Salvador right now, it's 3 major female groups, right? Filhas de Gandhi is the old ones, with 45 years. And then we have Banda de Dá, which is 30 years. And we have Mulherada, which I think is 20 years. It's 3 major female groups. But in terms like the distribution and support, it's not the same. It's not the same for the male groups or the mixed group. It's still like, it's like the scale of a support is limited. But I think the problem is not being plain victimized. It's just for the Afoxé, it's even worse because they make the comparison us as a religion group. Even though we are from the religion, but we bring into the street the concept of entertainment of the religion. Like in the Candomblé house, we don't just do Candomblé. We have our profane events. Like when the Candomblé is over, we have samba de roda. When the Candomblé over, we have a little Afoxé going on, like everybody playing the plates, playing the call bell, playing the drums, everybody clapping. We also have that kind of entertainment in the religion itself. But what happened when you go to the public now, since being such a problem in religion in Brazil right now, in terms like people discriminate against African religions group, like anything like related to the African tradition, like Candomblé, Ubanda, any religion relate to the African traditions is a problem. It's like people try to separate. And then when you have Filhas de Gandhi, because it's an afoxé, the rhythm is in Jexá, even worse. They say, they're coming now. You know, they all thinking we bringing the Candomblé to the street, which is like a way to limit us for a wide audience. But
Right.
this year, we're able to break that. We're able to get a very good partnership with the UNZO organization, which is a very distinguished organization here who fight about empowerment of the African descended culture. And then they was able to help us to market ourselves in a better way. And then I use my influence as an artist to make sure I reach out major media here. Then we be able to be in all the newspapers, the whole Brazil, the entire Brazil. People know, people kind of say now they find out we exist. A lot of people don't know we exist.
Right.
To the fact that the whole concept of this organization was never focused in carnival. We have like our house, like they call it SED, né? The houses for like foundation here is like SED. We have our foundation, which we have the entire year. We have like workshops. We have like a preparation for people be able to get the high school education. We have like preparation for people build instruments, for people build art and craft, for people having class in drumming, singing. I also have like some artists who dedicated the time to teach how to play the guitar, how to play the sax. And now we try now to see now partnership in the US now for people who can come and teach a little English for they can be able to be empowered themselves. Because most of the women in our organization, they are street sellers. The baianas de acarajé, like they sell the acarajé in the street, they sell the fruits, some of them is like maids, they work like a diarista, they call it here. A lot of them are intellectuals. It's a very mixed organization in terms like the background. But we try now to empower the ones who really need. For you have an idea, some of the girls who work in the band with us, they can't wait for the carnival because this money they're receiving, this are the money they put it to do the orisha. This is how they are. Every little extra money is for they can do the orisha obligation every year. And then like it's really like a organization for have like a single look and a very, very delicate look in terms like to see how it's so difficult in a land of so much machismo and the chauvinist and so many feminicide, and they have like a group of the women be able to come in the street and entertain. And I always tell them, together we are strong. And then this is the language, and we teach them, it's not just about carnival. We need to empower ourselves with education. We need to empower ourselves with knowledge, because this is the factors going to make us independent. Then now we can say we empower. Empower for me is you educating. Also empower for me, you work independent financially. If you don't have the two goals, you cannot give a better message to them because they will be dependent. They will
Thank
have
you.
to go home and ask the husband, can I participate in the group? Because depending their money to be in the group. And this is how our aim for them is like empower them to become independent. Regardless if they sell acarajé, regardless if they go in people, clean people's house, if they sell fruits in the street. The important thing is they have a home, they can come, they can take classes, they can empower themselves, they can be a professional and have their own business. That's what we try to teach them.
Yeah, so it's just carnival used for the real world. So
Yes.
it's incredible.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your discussion too. Please stay with us so we can just have some more questions, and we can answer some questions from the audience too. But I think if we could find it, it would still be nice to share it sometime during the broadcast too.
Okay, thank you.
But we move on to Big Chief Donald Harrison, who's joining us from the Afro-Caribbean nation of New Orleans, you know, which is an incredible compliment to that too. But he's a musician, composer, and he's considered a master of numerous genres. And what's interesting, he's considered a master of these genres by those inside those genres. So he's a master of jazz, soul, funk, Afro-Cuban, and Western classical music. He's collaborated with the who's who of music. I initially asked him, who did you not play with? Because he's played with Art Blakey, Eddie Palmieri, McCoy Tyner, Dr. John, Miles Davis, Digital Planets, and the Notorious Biggie. He's recognized as the Big Chief of Congo Square in Afro New Orleans and founder of a Museum of Culture in New Orleans. Again, Donald Harrison, Big Chief Donald Harrison. Hello, Donald.
Hey, how are you feeling today?
Very good having you here. Tell me, what were the origins of Carnival in New Orleans?
Well, the origins of Carnival were the French Mardi Gras. They in America, they say that it started in Mobile, but then New Orleans started a tradition here.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in most of the countries where in the Caribbean and New Orleans being considered the northernmost stop for the Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean traditions. We also associated with the idea of using Carnival to keep our culture alive. But
Tell me,
our culture really started in a place called Congo Square.
right, I was just about to ask you, tell us about Congo Square.
The Congo Square was a very special place where you were allowed to participate in your home country's homeland's culture. So people of the Congolese tradition were allowed to get together with people from the same area they came from and continue their culture. And people from the Yoruba sect were allowed to get together. So you had all these people, and they had circles on Sunday where they got together with people from their homelands and continued their culture the way they did it in Africa. But somehow that melded into other cultures that we have here that were influenced by things that were in everyday life. But from the African perspective, nowadays you have what you call the second line culture, which came out of Congo Square and what they call entities called the Mardi Gras Indians, and also something I'm starting that goes all the way back, Afro New Orleans culture. If you look at the costume behind me, you can see the African influence in my cultural attire now. So it's a lot of different ideas that come together under one umbrella. We have the Skull and Bones. We have a lot of different traditions down here, but they're all. I always say, without Congo Square, we wouldn't have our music here in New Orleans. We wouldn't have the birthplace of jazz music, and a lot of the world's music that was influenced by what came out of here in New Orleans would not be here. So Congo Square is ground zero, and is my esteemed honor. Can you hear me?
Right.
It's my esteemed honor.
We heard you, yeah.
Yeah, it's my esteemed honor to be recognized as the current Big Chief of Congo Square.
Well, what does it mean to be Big Chief? What does that mean? Where does that come from?
That means that you have earned the respect of other big chiefs.
Okay.
From going through the rituals and them saying that you have all of the attributes to be respected, and you have earned that title.
Yeah, it's also a family lineage with you too. You know, your father was one of the famous big three big chiefs.
Right.
know.
Yeah, but you can't get it like that. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I knew a lot and understood
Mm-hmm.
much of the tradition because I was around one of the chiefs that was actually he led 4 different groups in his lifetime, 5 different groups, which is unheard of, and he was considered the greatest tactician in
This is your father.
yeah, my father's considered,
Right.
and one of the people who really had a pristine understanding of antiquity inside the culture.
Could you tell us what are you as big chief? What's your responsibility?
Well, there's a lot of things that go on, but it's just to maintain an understanding of antiquity and to help new people who display the same honesty in their participation in the culture to move along. You have to earn a spot inside of this culture. It's not just given to you because you're keeping the connections to the ancestors, the connection to the universe alive through your work, understanding all the different aspects, through your being initiated and you making the right moves that are respected.
Where are you sitting right now?
I'm sitting in my father's museum. He passed away, the Donald Harrison Senior Museum, Big Chief Donald Harrison Senior, and it's here in New Orleans on Independence Street. My mother started the museum as a way to use art and our culture to teach young people, to educate them. She has a book club which is given maybe 80,000 books away to youth and help them to understand the power of reading and how it can transport you into other universes and open up the palette to infinity. You know, a book can open up everything in the universe to you. So
Right.
she
Could you
uses
tell us
that.
what is that behind you?
Oh, behind me is one of my suits that I wore one Mardi Gras, and you can see it's has a lot of African themes on it. But I also have some pieces that I can show you where you can see some Egyptian themes, African themes. I'll show you. These are beaded pieces that take little bitty beads on it, if you can look closely. That take months to sew. And this is these.
With
When
the
you're
Eye of
making
Horus.
Huh? Horus, yeah.
Eye of Horus, yeah.
When you're making these suits, you get there's a spiritual connection that happens. You can actually feel your ancestors. You can
How
feel
long
that
does it take you to make a piece like that?
they can take up to 3 months to make one of those beaded pieces, because each one is sewn on by hand and designed to be part of a big picture. But the thing
Okay.
is, while you're sewing that, you can actually, for me, I can feel the presence of the universe around me, and it's transcendence when you do that. And when you put the suit on, then you transcend to another space as well. You know, it's about connecting with your ancestors. When you do it yourself, it's another way of feeling that I think if you don't do it yourself, you don't have the feeling, the connection. And when you put it on, you have this, it takes about a year to make these. You have a year history of working on something that permeates your soul in a different way, and then you become another entity when you put it on, and you can feel that, and the people inside the culture, you can feel it, like when we start singing something like Hoochie Mate, Eddie Big T for the Congo Square Nation. And on Mardi Gras Day, I cause a sensation. I make Lou Dewey Dewey Buddy Bombo. I go to St. Louis Cemetery, wake up the dead and make them home bow. And they real big chief on the Mardi Gras Day say, Jockey Mo Fila Mahuna Ray. Tukeri me Ako Mahula Day. In the middle of a hurricane, I made the sun come out. When I talk nothing but thunder and lightning come out my mouth. And the real big chief on the Mardi Gras Day say, Jockey Mo Fila Mahuna Ray. We're going to take them downtown. You can feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah.
That transformation, but it comes from the hard work of being real in something. And that's the story I think about what New Orleans is that, and the spirit of jazz music is to be astute and understand as much of the universe as you can, to be a student who understands, okay, this is our music, but this is contributions of other people, and to respect all of those things and add them to the music. Jazz is about inclusion, so the greatest in that kind of music, they include a knowledge of everything, a universal knowledge. They were talking about Candomblé and Afroche. I spent time in Brazil dealing with those musicians in Bahia, in Salvador, and in Rio, knowing the difference between a pagode and a trio electrico, a jazz music.
Right.
I might
We have
know
a lot
that.
of knowledge.
And then when you go to Cuba, knowing the different, I spent time with Cuban musicians and with musicians from Puerto Rico and Haiti, and every era of jazz musician, classical music, because that's what jazz musicians do. I taught one of the greatest rappers how to rap, Notorious B.I.G. So I've just been around the block, because that's the ideal of a
Yeah,
jazz
that's
artist.
actually one of the questions I had for you too, because you've done an incredible combination of all these different genres. What was your rule to do that? What was your kind of methodology when you decided to do that?
Oh, I didn't have a methodology. I just wanted to learn from as many people I wanted to as I could, because of what Charlie Parker said: if you don't live it, it won't kind of come out of your horn.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on pilgrimages everywhere to learn. I did blues pilgrimages, going to learn about Piedmont blues, country blues, Texas blues, Memphis blues, Delta blues, Chicago blues. So I just went on all these pilgrimages to learn from people. But ultimately, I found out that all music is the same. And what helped me to find that out, ironically, is when I started dealing with quantum physics, and quantum physics together with music, working with a guy named Stefan Alexander, who's a brilliant quantum theorist, who came up with a lot of exciting ideas. But one of the ideas, something called a multiverse, that comes out of what Max Planck, his ideas, is that if there are the existence of multiverses, that each one would have the same kind of elements in it, or the same on the quantum level. And then a light switch came on in my head, knowing all of these different styles of music, whatever my knowledge is of that all music is the same, because it uses the same elements. You know, the music in Trinidad uses rhythm, it uses melody, it uses the spirit of the experience of the people. And the same thing in New Orleans.
Could you say that again? The spirit of the experience of the people.
Yeah,
That's the incredible insight as to why it's powerful.
yeah. but we're all living in the same paradigm.
Hmm.
And I also realized that this is a silly little analogy, but it helped the person who's not thinking of it in quantum terms. That if you take a chicken and you bring it to China, and you bring it to Haiti, and you bring it to France, you bring it to Africa, you bring it to New Orleans, you bring it to Trinidad, it's the same chicken, but it's going to be different because each culture is going to deal with it the way they deal with it. So I found that to be the same thing with music. And
Hmm.
if I found that, then I realized I could put all of these things together under one umbrella.
And that's what you call quantum jazz?
Quantum jazz is a different idea, but from what I'm talking about, yeah, this actually is part of quantum jazz because it's what I'm calling omniverse music. I
Hmm.
have the recording Congo Square Suite. It's 3 different genres of music. It's New Orleans
I think
culture.
we can share a little bit of Congo Square Suite also.
Yeah, but the explanation for that is the first movement is a traditional drum and voice movement, cultural music, Afro New Orleans, what I call Afro New Orleans music. Then the second movement uses the cultural music of New Orleans placed inside a classical concept. And the third movement is a mixture of jazz and classical music and cultural music all merged together. So you can see this process of how I see everything connected and how I can put those things together into one.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how. But I also have 2 other recordings coming out in that same kind of concept. One is called the Art of Passion, and the Art of Passion is actually a jazz mirrored is a jazz concept mirrored with a hip hop concept,
Hmm.
new trap concept. It's one song in 3 different styles. The first style is a straight jazz style. The second style is a mixture of trap hip hop and jazz, and the third style is trap hip hop,
Hmm.
trap hip hop instrumental. So you can hear these three sounds and how they are connected together. What I was saying about all music is the same.
You also created something called Nouveau Swing. What is Nouveau Swing?
Nouveau Swing was my initial idea of putting music that I grew up dancing to into a jazz context, an acoustic jazz context.
Hmm.
So, music of James Brown, Michael Jackson, and different artists put into a swinging context. So a lot of the young musicians really love that who are coming up now, like Robert Glasper and
Hmm.
Christian Scott and John Baptiste, and so they picked up on that idea in a further.
And they ran with it too. So
they're doing great with it. So
yeah.
I'm very proud of all of them. And
Yeah, well,
really,
I'd like to get back to the beating because I don't think people understand how important that beating was. Because again, I just want to mention a thing. In the 70s, your father, Donald Harrison Sr., Bo Dillis, and Tootie Montana got together and tried to stop the violence of the groups of the Mardi Gras Indian groups. And one of the things they made the competition was beating quality. Who was the best beater? Who was the best dresser? So instead of out fighting somebody, you outdressed them, or you outbeated them. That's an incredible transformation of energy, into something really positive too. So that beating is just not for aesthetics; it's also for a political reason too.
Yeah. Well, really, that's the way it always was.
Mm-hmm.
That chiefs always respected each other. if you did your work and you your heart condition was correct.
Right,
One of the
right.
they they say it's about violence, but it really is about heart condition
Mm-hmm.
to get in the
What do you
circle.
mean when you say heart condition? You're not talking about running up and down the street, right?
Yeah, no, if you do it for the right reasons,
Okay.
then the secrets will be revealed to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tell this short story about a guy who's one of the really heavy big chiefs now. He said he wanted to get into the culture, so he went to one of the big chiefs' house to get involved. In the first 2 or 3 months, he had to stand outside the gate and talk to him. So the chief was checking him out to see who he was,
Mm-hmm.
and then he let him in the yard, and he didn't talk about the culture that much. He just talked to him for another 3 or 4 months, and then he started grooming him once he found out his heart was right, and until the world, some of the secrets will help the world, but the world is not ready yet because the world's heart is not right yet.
Mm.
You know, when the world's heart gets right, and
Tell me,
we-
after you played with so many incredible musicians, what did you learn from them? What did you learn from McCoy? What did you learn from Eddie Palmieri? What did you learn from Miles?
from each of them, I learned how they put their music together. You know, you can read stuff in a book, but getting the knowledge from the person who actually did it is a whole other way of looking at it, because now you know you have the real story, and you can use it to further the concept, the bigger concept of what life, art, and music and love is.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are really spiritual guys, and so is the.
Did you go on auditions? How did you get most of your work? How did people hear about you?
I'm saying the reason I love you so much and music, because they really operate in the same hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about love and heart condition and making it better for human beings.
I love how you call it as heart condition, you know.
Yeah, well, that's a big part. You know, you can't get a lot of serious artists can't get their information unless unless they see that you're worthy of the information. So I remember when I was young, 19, I started with Roy Haynes. He had seen me a little bit, and he said, "You have the right idea." So I understood what he meant. He taught me a lot about what it was like to play with Charlie Parker, which really helped shape a lot of what I do.
It's incredible because people don't seem to remember who he is. You know, all the different ways he could play too.
Well, he was.
So- This conversation, as you could see, it's so interesting. We had very few people leave, and I just got a comment from one of my colleagues saying it should have been on the main floor in person. We would have, you know, because this is so great. But we unfortunately we only have a few minutes left, and I'd like to turn it over to folks who have questions. I see some hands raised and a couple questions. So we have Scotty Scott. Let me see. If you would type your questions, Scotty Scott, it would be helpful. And let me see it here. We have from
Coming in from
Angelique.
California.
Yeah, Angelique Gladsam. Hi, Silvana. I don't have a
Hello.
question. I just wanted to gush a little bit and express my love for your culture. I'm
Thank
absolutely
you.
enamored with Brazil's culture, the costumes, the dances, the beautiful folks, diverse cultural groups. So I am going to leave all the this wonderful, I'll let you read it later, but here's a question. Oh, Scott said he had no question. Okay, what would you like? What, did you have a comment, Scott? So in the meantime, would you, panelists, type your information? I typed a couple of links in the chat, but some people are asking for the links to your IG page, and more information, if you have it. Could you put it in there? And some of the information that you shared.
I think what you should also write down for the audience, you should write down Big Chief Donald Harrison, Congo Square Suite.
Yeah, I put the
this
link
is the-
in, but I want to write it again because there are 3 parts. His music is on YouTube, and I'll also put their individual links. All
Mhm.
right. In the meantime, keep on talking.
Oh. Silvana, would you
Uh,
like to add anything?
No, really, I just I would like to open up and the people who's listen to us and seen us to welcome, come to Brazil, share your experience of Filhas de Gandhi. We need like participation, collaboration. Come, we have a beautiful house here. You'll be able to, exchange your culture with us, like with workshop, we can have like a exposition. We have room for all of that. We have like a gallery area. We have a place set up if you can give classes. We just want to open up for the world. It's now the time, 45 years, and try now our best to continue this tradition. I cannot let this die out, and I seek out international, help for come exchange experience, be able to come also in parade with us, basically for the ladies. And I'm sure the guys have the wives and the mothers, the sisters, bring them over and let's party together.
I'm gonna show you what the Big Chief look like.
Oh, beautiful.
A little bit of it anyway.
Oh, that's very nice.
That's the Egyptian theme also, Donald?
This one is, yeah.
Okay.
This is part of that troop.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nice.
Wow.
Coochie Man, he Big Chief of the Congo Square Nation. Coochie Man, Coochie Man.
Whoa. Thank you, thank you.
This is beautiful.
Yes.
Did you ever see Boomba Mail Boy?
I was fascinated.
Yeah, that's remind me a little of that. Yes.
I was fascinated, Danny, by the when the Chief Donald there showed his work and the handmade nature of the work, which I know in terms of making the carnival costumes. And in Trinidad and Tobago Carnival now, as here in Brooklyn, we have a challenge with much of the costuming actually coming out of China.
Really?
And, yes, and the impact it has then on the sort of artisanal nature, let's say, of the costuming. So when I saw him showing the beadwork, it talked to ways of manufacturing that came out of the community and that strengthened the community. And so now, how do we deal? It's a modern era, a new era. And how do we deal then with preserving and expanding on that aspect of the carnival? Because as we talked before, the carnival is so much. It's the music, it's the masquerade, it's the food, it's the impact it has on the culture and everything. And then the second thing, that it's that thread of spirituality that has run through not only what Donald Harrison says, but also what I'm hearing from Silvana Magda, that they as when I play mass, and it's true, and you don't just jump out like that and play. You have to sit and you have to center yourself. And you're pulling on some universal thread that sort of extends back into, through the ancestral lines in order to come out and to do what it is you do. And that intertwining of the profane, let's say, and also the holy. It's a way in which he talked about that sort of the quantum nature and the multiverse and all that, which says, yes, it's not really separate, that both what is spiritual and religious and what it talks to carnival and Lavoué and all of that it all comes from the same place and from the same people. So, I got as this would say in old French, a frisson. My paws rose as I listened to this, and that sense, which is what I feel, came to me, and I heard it coming from the both of you. So beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I want to thank everyone for this fabulous panel. I'm afraid they might cut us off soon because we went so far over. That's how great the conversation was. There's some questions. When is the carnival next in Brazil for your group? One of the questions. This recording will be available for everyone. And we'll send it. So you'll have, Scott raised his hands again. I think that what each of you said resonated, the spirituality, the multiverse, there's so many aspects. I want to thank Professor or Daddy, this wonderful and realized soul, for really getting the questions, getting to the heart that allowed each of our panelists to be fully expressed, to get to the heart of the matter, to Donald Big Chief, who was like the big chief and is so multi-layered with all of the music and where he's traveling in space and time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Journey Agents. Thank you, Silvana. I so appreciate you coming in from Brazil, and Gailey Vet Davis of the big city of Brooklyn. Thank you so much for your
Keep it the date for
comments.
next year. Keep it the date for
Okay, yeah, we may have this again very
yes,
soon.
February the 25th, 2025, the Carnival in Salvador.
Wow.
We have to have
Excellent. Excellent. So thank you, everyone. I have to end. I don't want to. People don't want me to, but we got to go home. Have a good night.
Thank you, all
so
of you.
much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet
Bye-bye.
all of you.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye. So long.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.